Hi guys, Yolan here. Today we're going to review a session I played in Club GG in 5K NL. It's been a while since I didn't publish any content on the stakes, so I thought it was a great idea. So let's dive into the action. Queen Jack here decided to open 2x, small blind call and big blind call. Small blind is a whale. He's playing really loose, bluffing sometimes, often when he check raise. But he's giving up quite a lot, so I think the best option here is to c-bet small. The reason here I c-bet small with Queen Jack is you don't have that much value, but the guy's check raising bluff way too much. So he has all the Jack 9, Jack 10, King Jack, King Jack, King 10. I can raise, and against this type of hands, I'm just winning a lot of money because he's going to check raise and just giving him money when he bluffs. So I believe the bet in this exact case is better than the check. If I was against 2 reg here, I would probably check this back and play more polar, but again, this guy it's completely fine. So what I thought here in game is just betting really small, like 10, and if he has then like King 10, I can value this type of hands. If he has like gut shot, still fine to make full gut shots, especially if he doesn't bluff the river. So I didn't know this at this time, but I think the best option was to bet small, because if he doesn't plan to bluff the river, like the check doesn't really accomplish anything, because I don't think he has an 8 that much, especially given how polar he will raise in the spots. With his nuts, like he will not raise ace 10, for example. So I don't think he has that many a6, because most of the a6 here are like Hijack plus and Hijack plus or hands that are going to bet the turn here, not check. And on the river, it's easy to bet big. I think it's fine. Now you just target hands like front of 8 or an ace that doesn't really believe you, and if it calls 300, it will call 700, I believe. So I'm fine with my sizing here, but retrospectively I think betting smaller is better on the turn. Ace queen off here, we decided to ISO the limp. I did 250, yeah, and big blind call and the rec call. And in this situation here, big blind is actually pretty cap. Like I will win a lot against the big blind in these spots, because I just dominate his range and he's just capped, so I can put a lot of pressure. I have in position, so it's not that bad if like people flow that much. If he has like really aggressive erase strategies, this will be embarrassing, and I will need to change my ISO strat, but it's not the case. I decided to bet half pot here. The reason why I sized up with ace queens, I want to avoid a situation where I bet 200 and the raise, and I don't really want to check with my hand. I think the EV of the bet is better, and if I bet a bit bigger than 1/3, I expect way less raise. That's why I did that, because, for example, if this guy has a single heart, if I bet really small, he will think he has some full equity. And when I bet half pots, then the range I represent is stronger, so I expect less raise here. Unfortunately, it's not what happened. And facing this raise here, you should fold. A concept that is important here to talk about, and which is variable in every stakes. When people raise in these spots, the hands that are going to bluff are hands that have really high equity. And the problem here in these spots is if the hands have a lot of equity, then he's going to bet the turn super often. So you need to take your decision on the flop. It's either you call and call, depending on the turnout, of course, or you just fall on the flop, because the amount of check raise check here, I believe in this spot, is extremely low, because the main bluffs candidate is the ace of hearts. I usually, at the stack size, I think they will jam. It's on the turn. So I think here I just need to fall, unfortunately, and not really a lot of things to do. But you should be really careful about these spots, because if you're a bit too sticky, you can drop a lot of EV on the long run. Pocket 3 here, we decided to open. There is small ante, so with this ante, pocket 3 is not open super often, and with the rec in the big blind, I will never fold any pocket pair here. This guy 3 bets, and yeah, this guy 4 bets, so obviously pretty easy fold. I think if you play lower stakes, this type of call don't really make money, to be honest. If you look at your database, if you have like 100 million, no, not 100 million, but if you have like 1 million ends or more, you will see that this type of calls are not winning that much money. So I advise you not to do it here. Okay, next spot here we have pocket 7, hijack, is ready to open 2x. I think this is the best size in this game. Button 3 bets, I decided to call 7s. Again, it should be like calls, but with the 5k rec and the small ante here, it should be a call. Probably 5-6 deuce. This board is interesting. I think most people play one first strat here, but in high stakes they play more like a polar strategy, which is the theoretical play here. Mixing like around half and check should be fine. And now on the turn, I think my hand is always a bet. You have way too much incentive to bet pocket sevens here. You can get value from this queen ace king region and checks, and if you force king queen off, like you're actually quite happy. I actually thought about checking because I believe most people here will bet a bit too much, maybe against check. But I was not sure about this, and if he checks back too much, it starts to be the best option here. So I think you should bet. And in terms of sizing, you probably have two size here. Like you should have a size like this. I think and you should have like a bigger sizing. I believe you have two sizing here. I can be wrong, but I'm thinking if we can have like three sides, like if we can have the block, 3/4, and overbets. This type of strategy, to be honest, I don't play them super often because I prefer to extend my 4-bet region and call a bit more pre-flop. So I play less in these situations. But I do believe this sizing makes sense here and is used in theory. And this game flop. And here, something I see too much is people don't take notes. And here it's really important to take the notes that he is not range betting. Because somebody who is not range betting can give you a lot of information on the range. And just to know that he's not range betting here is really great to profile villains better. Ace king here, probably the biggest spot of the session. This guy open and this guy call. In terms of squeeze sizing, if to play lower stakes like between 10 NL and 100 NL, a good sizing here is really, really big. Because if you play the 100 big blind dips and you squeeze extremely big, usually people will be a bit scared to 4-bet your bluff because they will feel a bit committed. If you do something like 17 or 18 big blinds, then they need to raise like 45, 46. I don't really want to do that. So I advise you to squeeze with a big sizing, and people will react poorly, not having that many raised bluff. And if it's the case, then you print a lot by squeezing because you see the flop way more often. Okay, king at c to squeeze, something like 13 blinds here. I think in stakes is fine. And Yolan decided to tank for a long time, and I wanted to talk about it. People in general are extremely honest with the time. I don't think he will like tank like this and jam and like kings or aces. I think I do believe that it's often a hand that hesitate to do this move, and even in 5K you don't see enough players really taking the time all the time. So as soon as he's playing too fast in this situation, he will have timing tell, because if he has a close end, he will at least think about it. And I advise you to at least take a look on this, because you can take a lot of information on villain, especially on spots like, for example, if you bet on a small blind, but on snap call. If people snap call this spot too much and then start tanking a bit, then you know that they have a different range when they snap call you free bets compared to when they not snap calls you free bet. So you can have a lot of information. Maybe I'll do a video about this. I can refer you to a good video that Solo Costa made about timing. That I found actually quite accurate, so I'll put that in the description. Ace king off here now. You probably have a call. Something I wanted to say, because I play live high stakes these days. You sometimes can't call with ace king. I had these spots recently where the guy jam, we were 100 big blind deeps, and this is just a fold because of the 5% rake. So you should be really careful about how much rake you have in your games, because sometimes his king is just a fold. Like if he has jack plus, it's just a fold. Because you don't have the required equity. So just be careful about this. But here, no way I'm folding. 120 dips. I'm just thinking because, you know, sometimes maybe the spots can be folded. Here's not the case, but I like to take at least like 5-10 seconds just to not do any blunders. I called the guy as 9, and this is really interesting because you will see the showdown. So we went 3 times, and I lost the first one, I lost the second one, and I lost the third one. And here in this spot, nobody talk about this, but this situation are actually extremely important, because if you put these spots in the solver, like the solver just takes the move and moves on the other end. But as a human, you will be impacted to losing ends like this. And of course, I will lie if I say to you that I don't care because it's just variance. I mean, it's it's 13k, and it impacts me, and I'm a bit like frustrated because I didn't even win once, and I don't have like a magic trick to support variance in these spots. The only things I have is I remember myself when I got lucky. And for example, those who follow me on Discord, I did a burn crawl challenge where I start from 5k and I aim 30k in months, finish to something like 41k. So this was a pretty cool month. And the last end of the challenge, so when I reached the 30k burn crawl in 10 days, was aces against aces 700 deeps, and I won this end. Really crazy, right? And yeah, I won this end and I was extremely lucky, and sometimes I will be less lucky. So every time I'm losing this type of spots, I remember like 2 or 3 spots where like I was incredibly lucky, and it helps me going through this like feeling of just not a good feeling. Obviously, it's more like a feeling of it's not like an unfair feeling. It's more like, you know, if you think it's not fair, but poker is not about fair. Like if it was fair, like we couldn't play the game because we will win all the time and Rex will lose all the time. But yeah, I think it's an important topic here because it can really be frustrating sometimes when you run like 10, 20, 30 buy-ins in the EV. And I think you just need to focus on spots where you got lucky. Next in here we have aces. So I'm going to squeeze some size, some timing. Something I also say a lot is you need to take a lot of notes. And when I say you need to take a lot of notes, it's not about everybody, because if you have only one player you need to take note in this game is Burn, because it's the guy where you can extract the most value on, compared to the other guy where there are regs. They can do mistakes, but like there are 5k NL regs, there are good regs. I can exploit them, but all the exploits I can do, I can just review it tomorrow and just check what I've done wrong. But the rec is not going to be there tomorrow maybe, so I need to study him, really exploit him. And so to exploit him well, you need to check every end, every showdown, and you need to be focused a lot on fish plays. And it sounds difficult at the beginning, especially if you play on 4 tables. But if you focus all your attention when you're not playing your hand toward the rec, you're going to increase the VB here. So that's extremely important in live games, and online it's also tremendously important. So here with aces, decided to see bet small. I think it's the best sizing here. I don't see any other better option, to be honest. Like he will not fold nines, he will not fold jacks. I don't want to check. We will not bet here in these spots. People don't do this, so I think it's just the best move. We can maybe discuss about the sizing exactly, like maybe 350 is better. But in these spots, I prefer to choose the lower sizing because I really don't want him to fold jacks. It will be different if I have ace 10, for example, because if I have ace 10 and I bet this sizing he has jacks, he hits the jack, he beats me, and he probably take my wall stacks. But here with aces, if he touch the jack, I'm actually quite happy. So I will downsize a bit when I have top sets against the rec here. His timing is really important also. If you are beginning a bit with people timing style, try to only focus on simple informations. But here, what I can say to his range is we don't have information. Sometimes you will not have like a specific information. You will not be certain enough that he has some type of hands, and that's fine, but you just need to be focused on this. And sometimes you will see that players have some clear timing tells. So the turn is a 9, probably the worst of the deck. I don't see any I don't see another like worst cards in the deck. And now on the turn, spot is really difficult because I need to bet 100%. Like check is really bad here because I don't see him bluffing in like jack 10, because he will not want me to check raise, and a lot of rivers are going to be really bad for me because I will miss value. For example, if he has ace 10, jack comes, a queen comes, 7 comes, he will just check. So I really need to bet here. And in terms of sizing, it's really not that easy. I think something on 3/4 is fine. I don't really want him to fold an ace, but no ace is really going to fold. Like ace 10 is going to call. If ace jack has the redraw, he's going to call ace queen same. And he doesn't have ace king and finish king 3 bets pre-flop. So probably the best size around 160, 170, I would say. I'm fine waiting maybe a bit slower because even if he has jack 10 suited, he doesn't have that much equity. I like my size here. I will probably do a bit bigger, but I think here we're in the good zone here in terms of sizing. And let's think about pocket aces here. Don't forget to bet small when you have top set in this type of spots against rec players, because at low SPR you can just let them spew with some hands, and if you want to triple value against aces, the sizing you do on the flop is not that important. So I advise you to set it on this type of spots. Hijack here, set it to ISO. In terms of sizing, between 5 and 6 is fine. I randomize my sizing, but it's just fully random. It's just if Regs wants to study me, they're losing time studying this. The board is Jack 6 deuce. I think the sizing just depends on the rec. Some recs 1/3 is better against some recs. Pot is better. I think here's again this guy specifically something about 1/3 half pot is fine. I'll probably have 2 or 3 sizing here. For example, if I have jacks, I'm quite happy to let him call with random hands, and I'll probably play jacks most often in a bet flop bet turn, or sometimes some runouts bet and check. If I have, for example, and like king queen, I'm quite happy to bet 1/3 and barrel after, and I'm also happy if I bet half pot and he raised less. When I have hands like pocket nines, actually quite happy to put pocket nines in the 1/4 regions and he call, and after check Rex bluffs too much this line. So as you see, you have some types of hands that you want to put more in the 1/4, 1/5 region, some hands more in the 1/3, and some hands more in the half pot size. The only thing that is really important in this spot is knowing what you want to do with your hand. When you play against a recreational player, you don't need to be balanced. You only need to focus on what's the best EV move. And I think here with Jack is half against this guy. Yeah, I think it's great. The reason why I don't do like half plus 10 or like half and finish by a 9 is because I play this guy since probably 30 minutes. This will be a bit too exploitable, but if you don't know the guy and the guy doesn't know you, always up your sizing here if he's a fish. I think probably maybe 200 something is better here, but doesn't change that much. Aces here, decided to open, big blind call. The board is Jack 10-6, and here I think I did a mistake, but this is really complicated. This is really complicated to know what's the best size against a rec, because here you might think, okay, here we want spots, maximize our value, but I can swear that this guy is following a jack if I bet pot and overbet. We're playing actually a bit tight with his sketching regions, especially facing big sizing, and he's not like, he's a like what I called aware whale. Like, he's not playing real the game, he's playing way too many hands, but he understands how things work and he can make big folds, and often. And the problem here I have is if I bet way too big, he will have too much fold, and I need to coordinate everything in my head, like what the range will call me. If I bet too big, can I still take a lot of money, a lot of value if I bet this size and bet big after? And also he likes to bluff raise a lot on the flop, so I was a bit in the middle. I think retrospectively, I think betting bigger is just better. Of course, maybe sometimes you will fold, but you take way more money. The board is quite dynamic, so you want to maximize the amount of money you take here in these spots. But again, if you play against a whale that doesn't fold the jack here, you need absolutely to overbet here and to size at least 350. But again, the sizing and the decision always depends on the players you are facing. And on the turn, he decided to bet small, like 1/3. The problem I had when he bets his sizing is I don't have value against the range that bets. For me, he doesn't really bet like this king jack. I think the main hands that are going to bet this sizing, especially when he snap calls, expect ace jack, king jack to at least think about raising. Orange like 8-9, 7-6, 10-9. And the problem is I don't really take money when I raise toward this end. I take money towards this end if he calls me on the turn and I can get value on the river. But the problem is it will not be the case against this specific guy, because when he bets here, it's like I don't really want to face a bet type of sizing. So I have two options. Either like I raise extremely big and I deny hands like 8-7, maybe 10-9 if he wants to fold. Or I just call and value bet the river. But here the raise is absolutely not really clear. It's clear if he's calling me on the turn on the river, but if I raise the turn and bet the river, this guy fold 10-9, 8-9, and I have a lot of certainty about this. So call is actually better, because if you raise like, for example, 100, he will have something like 800 to add in the pot, that is 170. So he will need something like 36% equity. And when he has some, like the 9, he played the 7, the queen, the 10, and the 9. So he plays around 28% equity. If he calls, he doesn't make that much mistakes, and he will fold 8-7 in this type of things. I do believe so. I think calling is just better. So yeah, not that many things to do here. And if he has like Jack 5, he can fold if he raises the turn big, especially when he is doing this type of size. So there are two options. It's either you raise small, you allow him to hit sometimes when he has the 9, but in the branch where he doesn't have this type of hands, and also the branch where the deuce come on the river, you raise small and you can value with a bigger sizing in the Jack X region. So I think probably the small raise is better here. I think my call is mistakes. I would like to raise 1000 because he fold too much, but I prefer to raise 500 if a 7 come or 9 come and he bets whatever. But if it comes to 10s, an 8, a 6, a 5, 4, deuce, even flush draws, I can just have a clear value bet. So I'll probably prefer to see myself raising here, and that's a mistake here. I did. Probably didn't take enough time. I mean, I have all my time here. Could have taken 15 seconds, at least 15 seconds. So probably more like 20 or 30 seconds. And on the river now, I think the range is mainly a jack, like so. And a 10 can bet from himself. So I think now the size is just betting really big. I could have go for pot here. He even snap call. Like, I have too much drawers in my PC regions, so could have bet like 950, even 1030. So again, I play too fast. I don't agree with how I play in sense, but I guess everybody make mistakes, so I will play better this type of pot next time. I think I need to take more time, and yeah, the river side was not precise enough. So the main mistakes I did here in this spot is not taking enough time, because if I found a better setting right now, I could have found a better setting in game. Check it here. This guy open. I decided to free bet. This is a clear free bet here. It was not for betting that much. So if you go on Monker Solver here and you condense the 4-bet regions to wild value, you will see that you expand your free bet region a lot, especially if you block the two ranges here, because if you free bet way more, then they can punish you. But because they don't know me and because I didn't see anything like this from me, I don't expect them to 4-bet like massively. So I really like my free bet, and also we play against a whale, so we have a lot of way to manipulate the pots. And a lot of players sometimes tell me, but it's difficult because he's going to call a lot. If he's folding too much, win money pre-flop, and if he's calling too much, he will fold too much against c-bet anyway. He's making a mistakes by opening to lose, and whatever he decides to do, you will win money anyway. So as soon as he's not for betting in bluffs enough here, you win money. Okay, board is Jack 9-6. Again, it's really tough to know the exact size against Rex. It's actually way more easier to play against Rex sometimes than Rex. I like this sizing. He lost the pot against one of this guy. He was a bit tilted, and I just want him to raid and just call him whatever he was doing. So I think it's the best size. And also, on a lot of turns, I can barrel my end. So if he's calling more trash here, I'm actually quite okay. So I like to put this in a small size, especially when I don't bet turns super often. If I have like ace jack of queens, I'll go definitely for bigger sizing, at least 2/3. But with my hand here, I like to put this in the small sizing. You can even have hands in the smaller one and in the like 40% region. So we'll probably have 4 sizing here against the Rex. And on the turn, really tough to know what's the best option. Because now I check, he can bluff queen 10, king queen, even some ace 10. And if I bet, I can value hands like 7s, 8, probably even 9x, because he looks a bit tilted. So not that easy, but because when I check and bet, I don't represent that many hands, I think it's just better to check here. If I have free suite of value, I of course always bet the turn here. If I have ace jack, I always bet, but I think jack 8 here works better in the checking line. And now on the river, easy to check. I think I thought about value betting. I think I value bet. I don't remember, but his ranges now is like pocket pair and 9 often. I think I didn't value bet because he doesn't have an ace that much. Most a6 bet from themselves, especially because they don't want to face bet. But the problem I had here is I don't split with Jack 10 plus. So if he has Jack 10, Queen Jack, King Jack, will lose a lot, especially if he doesn't call like a 9 or something. Actually, I think checking is better in the spots. Yeah, that's 3-5, but let's say he has 9-8. If he fold 9-8 against a 1/3 and call like Jack and plus, maybe it is terrible. I think this type of scenarios happen way too much to stick to this scenario here. So I'm fine with the play. And last end of the session here. So the Rex gave everything to this guy. Hope you like this type of video. Don't hesitate to give me feedback about the format. Maybe you prefer another one. I will get back on Twitch soon a bit. I will definitely stream less often, but I'll also stream. Hope you like it. Check the description and see you for the next one. Bye guys.